Well, hello out there in podcast land, and welcome back to a special episode of Guilty Pleasures, the show where we celebrate the movies we love despite what critics, public opinion, or even our own God-given sense might tell us. That third part comes into play today a lot, which we'll get into, but it's a special episode for two reasons. First of all, this is our annual crossover with the Monstercast series that you've been hearing all month about horror movies that are much better than this one. But as such, we have one of the co-hosts of our Monstercast series with us, Mr. Jeremy Geckner. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, everyone. I'm going to take issue with what we call this show when it comes to this movie because pleasure is involved in most of the movies that you talk about, Lou. And anyway, I don't want to bury the lead, but I am psyched to be here.
All right. And joining us also on the podcast this month for the second time this month in Guilty Pleasures, we just had him on for the Poseidon Adventure, so really covering all ends of the spectrum here. Please welcome back Mr. Phil Rockwell. How's it going, Phil?
How many disasters do I get to be a part of as a part of this wonderful podcast?
All the disasters.
At least one more here.
All right, so I mentioned it was a special episode for two reasons. One is this is a Monstercast crossover. The second is this is our first ever listener request. We've been talking for a few weeks on the podcast, last few episodes, about how if you go to our iTunes page, our individual feed, and request a movie, we will do it. Well, we had listener Chad Meyer recommend this movie for us. And I got to tell you, audience, he set the bar really high or really low.
Boy, did that backfire.
Because he recommended the movie that we're going to be talking about today. And that is 1995's Ice Cream Man.
If you've never heard of it, that's okay, people.
It is more than okay. If you haven't heard of this movie for some weird reason,
the
plot summary is a small town is rocked by the discovery that the neighborhood ice cream man is serving up more than tasty treats. It stars.
Hold on.
That's it.
That's it.
Hold on.
I'm.
Did they actually discover that?
For one, yeah.
That's a wow. Yeah, didn't they?
I guess.
We'll get there.
The kids.
They get him at the end.
The kids discover it.
Okay.
By the end. That's good enough, right?
Yeah. I mean,
all right. Yeah. Well, let's not get caught up. But
okay. All right. So
already, IMDb needs to calm down.
Yes.
that was me actually. That's
you wrote that?
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I write my own copy. Thank you very much.
Jeez. All
right. So it stars Clint Howard as the titular ice cream man himself. And also just kind of a little bit of a hodgepodge of actors. A number of child actors we'll get into, but on the adult side, we have David Naughton. Some people, horror fans will remember him from American Werewolf in London. Jan Michael Vincent, Doug Llewellyn for some reason, and Major League Baseball Hall of Famer Steve Garvey.
Yep. Just to complete the random assortment. Wait, isn't there also like Lee Majors the second?
Yes, Lee Majors too. He must. I guess he's probably like the $3 million man instead of.
Had less money for the sequel.
Yeah. So the writer of this film actually is somebody who you might know. It was the story and screenplay by David Dobkin, who would later go on to write and direct Wedding Crashers.
Oh, wow.
And then Fred Claus. So,
well, okay. So he made slightly better fare in his time.
And if
he probably got paid better.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you're familiar with the director, keep it to yourself, probably, because the director is Norman Epstein, But he, in his other film career, goes by the name of Paul Norman. Now, he is actually a very prolific director. He's directed over 100 films. However, all of them, save Ice Cream Man, are in the adult film genre.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you might have seen his work. I haven't. I can say that.
The
but
sensibilities are very similar here, though. I mean,
well, and then it is too, because I watched it before. I started watching this before I did the research on it, and I was like, this like almost feels like a porn.
yeah.
Mhm.
The camera work, the lighting, it all feels pornish.
Very like a porn parody of a horror movie. And then sure enough,
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a visual style, at least.
He definitely has that. Let's just put it that way.
All right. So this was a direct-to-video release. So we have no Rotten Tomatoes score. We have no box office tally. We do. It was a reported $2 million budget, and IMDb users give this a 4.9. So let's just jump right in, because I am correct in assuming that none of us had seen this movie before we did this podcast, right? So we have no first impressions.
Yep.
So let's just jump right into what caught you right off the bat with this movie, and let's start with Phil.
The fact that an ice cream man is gunned down by some guys with a semi-auto in a lowrider in the first like 3 seconds of the movie. Now, okay,
They never explain, by the way.
No. Yeah, like, was he into some bad people for money, or it doesn't seem like the neighborhood has a crime problem.
No.
But this is what I realized when that happened. I was like, you know what? This is just absurd enough for me to be on board.
Oh.
Like, this makes no sense. The kid who ends up being Clint Howard's character comes out, and he's only worried about the fact that who's going to get him ice cream. Now, I'm like, this is bananas, but you know what? I'm on board. But here's what happened.
Okay.
And I have broken down the idea of these low budget guilty pleasures. It doesn't maintain that sense of lunacy over the course of the entire film.
No.
You have these moments that are just sheer bananas that almost they lift your spirits a little bit, and then the next thing you know, it's 15 minutes of kids like mumbling to each other. Like, I mean, I'm sure there was a script and there was dialogue. They didn't just let these kids improvise, but it's just like them sort of planning, and like it needed more of crazy stuff, like an ice cream man getting mowed down by an AK-47. And it just when you lead with that, you gotta maintain, or it's just nap time.
Yeah, I could spend this whole podcast, and we might, if we run out of time, just dissecting that opening sequence. Because it's in black and white, so to let you know that it's back in the day, but it also has the Nightmare on Elm Street a Jace score to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they're clearly aping from more successful films, and you're just like, within 30 seconds, and apropos of nothing, there's a drive-by shooting. And the other part about it is no one cares that he's dead. The whole neighborhood rushes around, and they like the mom cares about the kid. Everyone's just standing around like, oh.
Yeah, it's like an M80 went off in the street, and everyone opens their doors like, what was that?
Yeah, but even then, like, they all come out, they see the guy laying in the gutter, and they're all just kind of like, oh, isn't that something? Like, there's no attempt to help him at all.
How peculiar. Beverly,
Doesn't happen around
we
here.
have
often.
another dead ice cream man in the street.
Now that's a movie I would see. A serial killer of ice cream men. I would see that.
Well, isn't that kind of the problem? Is this little prologue has more interesting things going on in it than the rest of the film.
You are correct.
Going forward.
I will challenge that notion because there are some things that I want to unpack on that.
Sure.
But
yeah.
you're right in that, yeah, it is such a like balls out opening that you just, where are you going to go? And it leaves you so many questions like, why did he get gunned down? Now there's because I watched this movie 1.5 times or 1 2/3 times. Because this is, to me, this was like watching like a Naked Gun movie where there was so much batshit stuff going on. Like I was worried I was going to miss it.
Mm-hmm.
So I did go back and rewatch, and what I noticed in the scene later on where Ice Cream Man's factory's getting ransacked by the cops.
Yeah.
He has on his wall the framed newspaper headline.
Right.
That says Ice Cream Man gunned down in apparent drug shooting or something like that.
Yeah.
So apparently this Ice Cream Man was into some shady shit.
Yeah, but apparently the director also thought that was enough for us to connect the dots. Just, 2 seconds of a newspaper on a wall.
Well,
so.
and that's a theme that goes through the rest of the movie where there's all this weird ass shit going on, and then it's like explained away by dialogue that's like shoehorned in there.
Yeah.
Because that's the same way with the fake flowers.
Yeah.
I had to go back and I was like, wait a minute. They're pretending these are real flowers, right? Did I miss that? Oh yeah, they are. Those are real.
Like, that's what struck me. The cop was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the cop was like, oh, how do you get them like that? I was like, I don't know. A factory in China? I mean, like, it made no sense. I was like, why is the cop playing along with this?
So 1.5 times did not clarify the flowers.
No, it did, because later on there's a line towards the end of the film that said that it was better to do the fake flowers for him because it was part of his mental health treatment, that you didn't have to take care of them. They would always be there.
Oh, well.
Oh, God.
That's
this movie.
Important social point we're getting there.
Well, okay. So Jeremy, what stood out to you in watching this?
It strikes me like, now that, like, we got the director was a director of multiple pornography films out there, that the filmmaking style is so similar, because I noticed like there's a lot of one takes, like he doesn't switch his angles in these scenes a lot.
Mm-mm.
And like that is so indicative of a porn film, I think. It's just like, one shot, there you go, okay, we'll change it once. Yep,
you got it. Seinfeld, they didn't do 2 takes.
Yeah,
Ask
exactly.
Larry David.
There you go.
That was it.
Maybe he was aping Seinfeld. No,
Hey,
but
this
wasn't
the 90s.
It's just so disjointed, this movie. Like I had a similar thing with you, Phil, at the beginning. I was just like, okay, we're just going nuts. Okay, that's fine. I'm cool with that. I can get on board. But then they have these odd moments of like attempted sincerity that like just are so out of place. Like when he goes and visits the grave, and he's like crying and bringing the guy ice cream, and it's like they try so hard in this movie to give you moments to like get you to empathize with Gregory, and it just like that just means like I don't know what kind of a movie you're making here. I mean,
I think the blame or credit to that has to go to Clint Howard.
Well, sure,
because I think he is giving more of a performance than this movie is worth.
He gets the scripts like, hey, somebody wants me to star in it, so I'm gonna actually act.
Because in that scene, you think it's like, he but that's the other thing that just raises more questions, because he was so rocked by the murder of this ice cream man. Did he have any relation that we know of to this ice cream man?
Not that I know of.
It wasn't his.
Like,
I thought it was like going to be his dad or something. I was like, okay, his father was an ice cream man and was killed. Sure. Okay.
That would have made more sense.
It's even more batshit when you realize it's just the neighborhood ice cream man.
It's just some guy. Yeah.
Granted, who doesn't love the ice cream man, but still.
Well, I mean, it's just the movie has no idea like the tone it wants to set because there are batshit crazy stuff. Like, I mean, I'm sure we're gonna break down that mental asylum for quite a while, because that was just ridiculous. But I mean. Yeah, like the end, like also Gregory turns into Batman doing like double sledgehammers off the ice cream truck, knocking out cops. Like, I don't know what this is. Like, what is this movie? What are you trying to make?
2 scoops.
Yeah. 2 scoops.
Oh, I just realized. So I have my notes up beside me. Down at the bottom, because I knew this would happen. We would try to apply logic to what is going on. So in all caps with 4 exclamation points, I put, don't apply logic, because nothing in this film makes any sense. And you'll just it's like watching something explode. We'll just go everywhere trying to chase a logic or a philosophy that just does not exist.
Yeah.
No.
That's a good point. We got to leave the movie reviewer card at the door on this one.
I'm going to highlight this in yellow and bring up the font size.
Yes.
Just remember, every time you try to do something real here.
No, it's like quicksand. The more you dig out, the deeper we get.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So aside from just the fun of seeing him become the Undertaker there at the end, I think that the movie, it has some genuine moments of just like shock and like shock value, especially for the time, but it's just too uneven. Like, yeah, we'll get into specifics, but the whole thing is just like, why is this here? Why is this here? And how on earth did you think these fit together?
Yeah, I will say this because I really would have liked to have watched this movie with more than one person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not with my wife, because we would not be speaking if I made her sit through this. But because there were moments I was watching this movie by myself on my iPad, like with headphones on. My wife was in the other room working, and we had a guest over. They were talking about my daughter's Girl Scout troop, which was a weird juxtaposition.
Nice.
And so there were just moments where I would cackle. I was like, because there are those moments where it's like, holy shit, they just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is this movie? And I'm just getting these looks and thinking, because this was an oddly paced movie.
To say the least.
It was paced?
For an hour. Like, it really felt kind of long for an hour 23. But
wait, it didn't hit 90 minutes?
No.
Hour 23, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Yeah. and yet it felt pretty damn long, because it does have those moments of dialogue that they're just trying to make something happen that really isn't. And it's just like, for a guy who directs a lot of pornos, the one thing he should know is to cut the dialogue down, because no one's there for the writing.
As we always go to pornos for the
But one of the things that I noticed, let's move on to this. Let's talk about the kids in this movie.
Yeah.
Because I've got so many questions.
How many main kids were there?
I think 5. There were 4 Rocketeers, right? So, and then 1 non-Rocketeer.
Okay.
Go for it, Lou.
There are 4 memorable ones. Okay. There is Racer.
Right.
There is Tuna. There is Small Paul. And then there's the girl.
Small freaking Paul.
Small Paul, or as I call him, Aldi brand Macaulay Culkin.
Very nice. And then it's a different boy that disappears right away, right?
At the beginning, yes.
What's his deal?
His deal was he was a Rocketeer, and Small Paul wasn't, I think, or was it Racer who wasn't? One of those 2 kids was not, and he gets to
I think Racer, the one who disappears first, I think wasn't, and then he gets in. I'm presuming because he replaces Tuna.
No, because Tuna survives.
No, Tuna survives. He loses a fat suit.
This is his fat suit. Oh.
Here's another question I have, because I wasn't sure when I was watching it. Do any of the kids actually die?
I thought the first kid did.
I think they find him in like the brush, don't they?
Right, that's the one I'm talking about. That's number 5.
Tuna find. Okay, you're right. So maybe
Ice Cream Man picks up Tuna from the bike, which was a fantastic move, by the way. But
yeah,
so I was unsure about Tuna's fate because I couldn't really track the end. But
it's because he lost the fat suit.
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, okay. Like there's actually a moment. It's not like treated in dialogue or anything, because that might make sense. But like his buddy walks up to him at the end and he sort of like pats at his belly to indicate like, hey, you've lost a bunch of weight now that you're not eating ice cream every day.
And
covered in sand.
Calling it a fat suit is an affront to suits everywhere.
It was a life preserver.
That was a pillow.
Yeah.
That was
it was totally a pillow.
They just literally stuffed pillows up that kid's shirt.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's couch cushions with
the. He's got that ridge. He had the little ridge there. Yeah. It's like,
oh yeah,
the torso stops like right here, and then it's just like.
So it's like, what did you use this $2 million on? The ice cream truck?
Clint Howard.
Howard.
When he didn't. Ron Howard's not directing this, so he doesn't give the family discount.
Right. Gotta. Lee Majors II had such a giant price tag, legacy price tag. No, so kids are interesting though. You're right, because I guess this is like one of those classic like TV horror movie tropes where nobody believes the kids, but like I don't know, man. It just doesn't hit at all. And I guess they're trying to build camaraderie with these kids, and I just don't feel it.
And not for nothing, the kids themselves are on some bullshit. Because Tuna watches Small Paul abducted into the van.
Right.
He runs home to go tell his parents, but his parents are in the middle of some sort of fight because the mom's discovering the dad's cheating on her. And he's just like, maybe now's not the time to share.
To share about the murdered child.
Friend, yeah, exactly. My best friend's just been abducted by the creepy ice cream man. I'll wait till morning. And then morning when he wakes up to the worst St. Nicholas Day ever with ice cream and worms in his shoes. Mom's oblivious, doesn't care. Kid doesn't say anything. Like, maybe that's your window, Tuna. Maybe that's the opening you have to say, oh, hey, by the way, the ice cream man kidnapped my friend last night and has probably already murdered him.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. God. It's cruel for me to even like compare these two, but there is like, if they were going for it, there's a little bit of what Stephen King did in It.
Oh man.
Where the kids are the only ones who can see these things.
Okay.
And the adults are like, well, I mean, it's supernatural in It. The parents just can't see because of, the nature of it. In this film, it's the same thing without any reason. Like the parents are just oblivious to what's going. Why are adults in this film?
Because
probably because you can't chop up little kids.
Yeah, so we can get the heads on props.
You're right. So you could have some victims. But yeah, you're right, because all the adults, and I do think that's a standard trope of most horror movies, at least in this era, where the adults don't. The Nightmare on Elm Street movies are all about the kids, but that's more of a supernatural thing. But all of the adults are wrapped up in their own nonsensical subplots.
Yeah,
because you have, first of all, you've got the married couple. Tuna's parents, David Naughton and his wife, who are, he's cheating on her with the town.
Strumpet.
Well, yes, with a character that would be more appropriate in Paul Norman's other films.
Do you think she was?
I was just about to ask that.
I think so. I didn't research that because I don't want that on my browser history.
That's fair.
So we'll just say yes.
I'm gonna think this was probably his favorite actress to use, and he's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going legit, and I'm bringing you with me."
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. She's like, you're the one with the real talent here. There's something, I see something in you, because you would expect a movie like this that's direct to video, that's a horror movie, and in a genre that usually directed by a porn, that there would be a porn director, that there would be like gratuitous nudity or sex scenes in there.
No.
And there's not. He's like restrained in that regard.
But the worst you get is what, like the faraway shots of the pictures, as they're getting developed.
Right, and exactly. And then there's the moment where the girl, the female tries to seduce Clint Howard.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, if someone can seduce Lawnmower Man, Clint Howard can get his too.
It's like, yeah.
Oh, don't bring up Lawnmower Man. Now we gotta talk that someday. No, but to borrow a phrase from one of your other episodes, friend, this woman is thirsty. All right, if she's going after Clint freaking Howard.
Oh yeah, yeah. Apparently, David Naughton is just not cutting the mustard.
Clearly not.
Yeah, she needs a little something different. But yeah, so they're on their own thing, and then you have the parents of the female, of the girl character, who I apologize.
This is
her
name
nuts.
is Heather. I think is Heather her name, or is that, I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I think it is.
So her parents are David Warner, a character actor who's been
actually really great. He's a really great actor.
He is. It's okay. It's Heather. So Heather's parents, David Warner is a preacher whose wife apparently foams at the mouth and speaks in tongues.
Through the Archangel Gabriel, if I remember right.
Yes, through reasons that A, are never really explained, and B, never
immaterial.
Yeah, nothing.
Completely immaterial to the rest of the film.
No, you're right. Like, this is the biggest sin of the movie, if that can even be stated, is that there's so many things that you think they were around the table, and it's just like, hey, you know what? Let's make her mom like talk in tongues and stuff. That'll be great. And they don't follow up on any of it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's that is one of the things about that movie, is that because there's no context to it, this random shit just comes up out of nowhere, and it really is like it's like an airplane. It's like a sight gag because how could you have seen that coming?
Yeah.
If you expected woman foaming at the mouth speaking in tongues to be any part of this story, good for you. Because and
it's just like David Warner, like, it's like he can't turn off his natural acting like instincts, because like I think he knows what kind of a movie he's in, and he's like the only one like trying to go for it, because like when he runs after her and he's just like, no, come back, your mother, Gabriel's speaking through your mother again. He's like so giddy and excited, like, oh, our favorite show is on TV. Like, he's going for it. He knows what he's doing.
But later on, when he is preaching, he has the stigmata on his hands.
Yes.
And then you see him washing his hands. So, like, okay, so is he supposed to be a phony preacher? And if that's the case, so is the wife like rehearsing her?
Yeah, must have been, right?
They like rehearsing their act together, but they don't. Again, not explain, but they just, for some reason, they just like the visual of this woman just foaming and speaking in tongues.
Well, then, just to close the discussion on that, is like when we first meet David Warner, we think, okay, he's just like, oh, he's just some good dude. He's like talking to the kids like normal and stuff. Like, oh, we would have invited you in. Oh, did you have a fun day? And then all this stuff happens. And then at the end, she goes home and he like rushes her inside, like grabbing her neck and stuff. And I'm just like, what is this dynamic here? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's insane. And then you have, I guess, to round out the adult characters, you have the cops. Or actually, no, before we get there, we should get to Racer's parents, because we need to. I'd regret it if we didn't talk about Hall of Famer Steve Garvey.
Acting chops, man.
You know what?
Wrong line of work, even though you're a Hall of Famer.
Why is this? Why is he in this movie? Why, like,
to have known somebody, right?
Right. He had to. And did he think this was going to be like the launch pad for him? and nobody really explained to him what exactly was going on.
I mean, probably. Right?
I mean, it would make sense. Like if it was Lenny Dykstra, I would have been like, "Oh, got it."
Oh man,
But
Lenny Dykstra pull.
but like, there's nothing about his career that says I need a paycheck.
No.
So it's a very, I don't know. Maybe he's buddies with the Howards or something. It's inexplicable.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
And I don't think we'll look this up. I don't believe he has anything. I need to correct myself. He is actually not in the Hall of Fame yet. He is famously sorry.
He's one of those Andre Dawsons, huh?
Yeah. So yeah, if sorry, my somebody's out here yelling, he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. God damn
Also,
it, he
sorry
should
to
be.
Steve if he's listening. We didn't mean to pour salt in the wound there, man.
But you should be. You should be. I only said Hall of Famer because I assumed because he was a great baseball player.
Come on, anytime, Steve.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Do you think Ice Cream Man is the anchor around his Hall of Fame chances? Like we can't have this guy. We can't have a bronze of this guy just out in the open where people can put white hats on him and waffle cones and whatnot.
In his mitt.
Yeah. Pete Rose has the gambling scandals. Steve Garvey has Ice Cream Man.
Potato.
Yep. Same thing, basically.
But that family's got an odd dynamic because you've got the older brother then who's like just your kind of typical like jerky older brother, but he also wants to be a cop.
Yeah. Well, I thought that they established he was a cop at the beginning because the dad's talking about giving him a speeding ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, he has to be a cop, right? And then they're like, oh no, he just wants to be a cop.
Right, because he's still like I think he's still like a high schooler.
Yeah,
I think he's done with going to be graduating and moving on to being a cop.
But he still runs around with a firearm.
Yeah,
handy,
like you do.
Yeah, wallet, keys, Beretta.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about Clint Howard and the Ice Cream Man because that's where that's where I think we have the most meat on the bone here for some really crazy stuff. So we learn early on that Clint's character Gregory is clearly they introduce him and he's clearly up to no good. He's clearly creepy, but then you right off the bat, I mean he murders a dog in like his second scene.
Yeah,
that
is some pretty that's a bold statement, I think.
And it's his landlord's dog.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, the landlord.
Yeah,
that's a Nurse Wharton.
That dynamic alone is ridiculous. But no, you're right though. It's like, but here's the funny thing that I found in this movie. So he doesn't kill any of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
No.
He only kills adults,
even
though the kids are the ones who know what's up and what's happening. So is he guided by some sort of weird moral, like adults suck type thing because of his time in the mental asylum? Or, I mean, like, I was trying to figure this out. There's got to be a reason they don't let him kill the kids.
Don't apply logic.
Damn it.
But here would be my guess. The kids... You can't kill your customers. Like you can't kill your clientele.
So it's a capitalism argument. Okay.
Yeah, it's pure capitalism. The kids are the ones who come to him with excitement and I guess accept him or something like that. So that's the best I got. Don't apply logic.
No, I think that's right. I mean, I guess if I want to give them some credit into the backstory here, it is, he was a kid when he sees the Ice Cream Man is gunned down, and he loves the Ice Cream Man because kids love the Ice Cream Man, and he maybe wants to kill the adults who were responsible, or he, it's like a Jason Voorhees thing where he wants to kill the people who are responsible for the death. But if he ever saw like a kid that reminds him of himself, he kind of lets him go. Maybe it's that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could be because he definitely tries to apprentice Small Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. It just struck me as odd. And it's just like, okay, we're trying to establish this guy's so nuts and crazy. And oh, look at all this stuff that happened to him in his past. And then it's like, oh, well, he actually just kind of likes all these kids too.
Well, and if you remove that idea, because I think that's the other thing, if you remove the idea that he'll never kill a kid, the movie loses almost any form of suspense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the kids are never really in danger then.
Yeah. I could have almost respected the movie a bit more if they would have, killed some kids.
That's what this movie needed, more dead children. I felt this. I felt the same way about Infinity War. I wanted to see more. I wanted to watch more kids incinerate in the snap.
So when you saw Spider-Man dissolve, you're like, yes, now we're getting somewhere.
There we go. Now there's some fucking stakes. We're killing kids now. So anyway, he just goes on and he's grinding up people. Like his plan is twofold. I think maybe the best way to look at it is this is a very Sweeney Todd-esque story, because he's killing people, he's grinding them up, he's putting them into his ice cream, but then he's like using like spare parts for toppings, because that was the scene that really grossed me out the most. Was that he takes the eyeball and guts it into the rocky road.
Yeah.
Oh. And that moment. Oh.
First of all, that's not how eyeballs work. Like that's that was like he was coring a blueberry. Like, dude, no, that's not like how it works. But like, okay, so big picture, was the dog the first thing he'd ever killed, or has he been doing this a long time? Because I couldn't get my head around, is this something that's been going on? Like he's always been doing this? Was there some sort of inciting incident that turned him into, who was the first like person he killed? Was it the guy in the park?
Yes, he was the creepy dude in the park. Why did he need to be a creepy dude in the park? Was that like a misdirect to make you think, oh, he's going to be the murderer? I mean, it's called Ice Cream Man. We know who the killer's going to be.
Well, maybe he was creepy, and that's what Ice Cream Man, why he took him out.
Oh, it could be. Yeah. Because he does kill the parents, the philandering dad and his mistress.
Right.
He kills the creepy dude in the park. And then he kills the two bad cops, right? Because he doesn't kill like Jan Michael Vincent and his partner. Those aren't the ones whose heads he does a puppet show with.
Oh, no. Should we wait for what's his name to come back?
Yeah, let's get here. We'll pause here for a minute, because I can always splice this together.
Oh man, there's so much. Actually, while he's gone, I'm gonna get water.
Okay. Yeah, he lost power at his house, so he's trying to get it back on right now.
No worries. So how is Venom? Oh wait, you haven't seen Venom yet?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to
this afternoon.
The 12 o'clock show. So that's why I was trying to get it done a little early, so I had time because I then got to pick Christiane up after that. So yeah,
it certainly seems to have. I think it's a good fit for guilty pleasures from everything I've read.
I haven't read any reviews other than some headlines here and there on websites. So yeah, it's depending on who you talk to, it's either fun bad or it's just bad.
Yeah. The best reviews I read essentially call it a love story between Eddie Brock and the symbiote. So I am 100% on board with that nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got to figure out. I'll be honest. When I was watching this, I was like, I hope Lou has figured out a way to like organize the direction of this podcast. Cause I'm like, there are a million different isolated, like just tangents that you can go on with this.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot about the push-up knife.
Yeah, I've got that in my notes too. Yeah, I think maybe when he comes back, we'll just we'll rewind a little bit and just start talking about Clint and his.
I think maybe start with like what we think his actual origin story is, because I think we know, but like anything in this film, I'm not sure we know. Okay. Let me see.
Oh, so his whole block is without power, so he has to wait for the city.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so he's just his carry on. Yikes. Okay.
All right.
So I will just count us down, and I'll kind of do a. I'll do a little explanation.
Sure.
So we have just apparently lost Jeremy. He just sent me a text message. His whole neighborhood is out of power. So he's going to try to join us back if he can. But we're going to keep talking about Gregory. Maybe, he might have pissed off the local ice cream man. Who knows?
Last seen on a BMX being trailed by an ice cream van.
Yes. So, yeah. So we were talking about him grinding people up, and then using them for toppings, and then training young kids. But he also has a couple of other very unique ideas of what he wants to do to his victims. And so let's start with the dog.
Let's.
And this is where I gave the movie a little bit of credit, because they did, that was the one time where they actually played on him being an ice cream man, because you've got the push-up pop,
right,
that then turns into the knife. The push-up, the sleeve is just hiding the fact that it's a knife,
right.
And I'm like, oh, that's kind of clever, actually. And like I kind of expected when we saw this movie that it was going to be more of like him like murdering people with like an ice cream scoop, or those other. And you never, I don't think, is that
deaths.
Yes,
yeah.
But all it is it's more that Sweeney Todd of okay, he's gonna grind you up and serve you in the ice cream, because we then see him put the dog in the grinder.
Yeah.
Which is, that was that, and that with the eyeball was what just really creeped me out the most. Was and that's the other rare thing, is this, most horror movies, they don't kill the dog.
No, the dog's usually okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of your note off the bat. This one's going to be a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, the lack of, for lack of a better word, of ingenuity in the murders in this film. I mean, another guilty pleasure, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, is a good example of everything that they were doing had some sort of relation to clowns, whether it be cotton candy or twirly straws or whatever. Like, it all was of a part. This is just, I mean, he's essentially a slasher who puts stuff in ice cream. I mean, like, that part of the appeal of a guilty pleasure horror movie is the deaths and the kills. And there's just not a whole lot of entertainment value in these murders.
No, there's not. Yeah, they save the crazy for like all the other scenes, and that's what it feels like. Oh, maybe that's just the fault of the budget. Is that when you don't have that much money, you can't maybe stage like super gory creative deaths. I don't know. I don't know where the money went to this, but where their $2 million went. But maybe that was it. And so they're like, well, maybe we just need to goose them with some other crazy shit, and that's how you get, you know, all sorts of rando stuff. Because I know what they spent the money on, because this is the other thing we'll get on. Severed head puppets.
Yes.
That's where you want to know where the money went to. That's where they went to, because by the end of the movie, not only he's putting heads in ice cream cones,
giant ice cream cones.
Yeah,
that was a world record waffle cone. holding up that severed head.
I mean, yeah, you have to just think the structural integrity of the cone to keep the head. As we all learned from Jerry Maguire, the human head weighs 8 pounds.
So there was probably some structural engineering going on inside that cone.
Yeah. So good on them. And so and then you think like that's the shot. You think like, okay, when they conceived this movie, that's probably like the vision they had in their mind when they wrote this.
What if a human head was the middle scoop in ice cream cone?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the image that they base this movie around. But then that's not enough. They triple down on it, because we get 2 more severed heads that Clint Howard has his hands inside of, manipulating the mouth like they're puppets.
But wasn't it like, so he had part of the spine, and it seemed like he was pulling on a tendon or something.
Oh, was that it?
In the back that made their mouths. Regardless, what does fucking head puppets have to do with an ice cream man?
Nothing.
Like, if this is your payoff, like if this is the grand finale of gore, have it something to do with ice cream. Like, even if you had like the waffle cone thing, if you had waffle cones on the 2 heads and was still, you know, making them talk, like we'd shrug that off, be like, sure, why not? But why is he just chasing people around with severed heads? Like, it don't apply logic.
No, again, yeah, you're breaking your own rule, Phil.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so yeah, there's that. Oh yeah, and then there's just these other little weird moments in it, like when he grinds up, he kills the mistress and grinds her up, and everything else like dissipates, but her diaphragm.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I was like, now my understanding. we need a female expert on this show, because I'm not familiar with said apparatus. But like, it's not a like keep it in all day type of situation, right? It's for a specific use, and then it's
I'm gonna
so weird.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna expose my ignorance on that, but I'm pretty sure you only because I think the other one's like the IUD that stays in.
Yeah.
Right. A diaphragm is like the, you know, closest to a female condom, where you only use it when you're, of course.
I can't help laughing at what's happening right now.
breakdown. Oh, yeah.
Don't apply logic.
But again, didn't he catch them? Didn't he kill them when they were hooking up, or were about to?
Well, they were both in the same. Yeah, so okay. Maybe.
So that tracks. There we go. So excuse me. My apologies to David Dobkin.
To the best of our ignorance, that is not a problem in the logic of the movie. The fact that a diaphragm remains from the harlot, harlot's person.
Wouldn't it also have been ground up though? Because what is the diaphragm made of? What's the material? This grinder can grind up
like rubber. Like
it should just get ground up with everything else, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's the thing about this film that I think made it a frustrating watch is, and this sounds absurd, but this movie could really use like a $10 million remake. Because there are ideas in here like you mentioned what's left of her, like she's got their rings and things like that he takes out of after she's ground up and like leaves them as trophies, I guess, on his wall. Like if a director or writer decided on a motivation for Clint Howard's character, it would have solved a lot of the film's problems. But you don't know, is he murdering for the sake of protecting the kids? Then why is he chasing the kids? Why, there are just too many questions about what is driving him, other than I guess he's crazy. That if you could lock that down and be a little more punny with your dispatches, there is a legit guilty pleasure to be had here.
Yeah, I think they could have dialed it up a little. Yeah, if you had had maybe a David Dobkin would go on and show that he could write funny dialogue later on in his career. If he could have just dialed it up a little bit, and apparently the trivia, there's very little trivia on this, but one of the trivia is originally the earlier draft of this was meant to be a spoof of the horror genre. And
that makes a lot of sense.
And at some point they steered into the skid and then just said, we're just going to make a straight up horror movie. So maybe, yeah, you're right. I think that could have been, a little more punny with his lines. Yeah, they should have. I mean, if your theme is Ice Cream Man, embrace the theme.
Yeah, they need to pick a lane.
Right.
They need to pick a lane. Are we being cheeky about this? Are we actually trying to scare people? What is the goal here? And if what you're saying is true, then that speaks to it's a little bit of the Solo problem where you have too many cooks and none of them really override each other. They just kind of mush together and you get slop.
And it all traces back to the Howard family. Those sons of bitches.
Damn Howard.
I'm putting Ron Howard on blast.
I got
Howard clan. No.
There is nothing worse to me than like eviscerating a Ron Howard movie, because the guy's not trying to like offend anybody or anything. No. Like he's a completely good dude who just happened to do one of the most problematic Star Wars films in the franchise.
But he does work his brother into his movies, which thank God for that. Because I will say, I do enjoy watching Clint Howard, and I enjoy watching him in this movie because he does have that there's something always kind of off about him anyway, and everything he does. And he's a perfect main character for a horror movie.
Yes, absolutely.
It makes so much sense, but yeah, and he is working it. He's given it everything he can.
Yeah, if his character were sketched better, then it would have lived up to the performance that he gave. Now, was this pre movie award, Lifetime Achievement Award for him?
I believe it is, and maybe
Okay.
this is what puts him over the top. I don't know, because I think he would have been like 96, because I think that was eventually when they got to the era, or maybe I don't know.
He killed it.
Yes.
Like after he got it, they're like, well, we've reached the top of the mountain. We cannot even do this again.
Yeah, he gave it. Yeah, he was so sincere about receiving the MTV Lifetime Achievement Award. They're like, well, I guess we can't really make this a joke anymore.
No, we can't go back and nominate, or we can't have another Chewbacca moment after Clint Howard was so moved by receiving the award.
Right, exactly. But yeah, so a couple of other things that I wanted to point out in this movie is that, this is a hodgepodge of people. We mentioned Steve Garvey, we mentioned Jan Michael Vincent. The one person we haven't mentioned is Doug Llewellyn as the grocery store owner in what is the weirdest cameo, like shoehorned, that I think I've ever seen. For those of you who are too young to know, Doug Llewellyn was the host of The People's Court, the original incarnation of the 80s. In the 80s with Judge Wapner, the one that became super famous. And that's where there's that last line of, "You're not going to take me to court, are you?" And that's where,
yuck.
And it's like, it's so, I hate it and I love it at the same time, because that's the movie could have needed more of that. That like cheeky winkiness that it needed to be a little more Sharknado-esque in that regard.
Yeah, that's a very like airplane type cameo. Like they show up like, oh hey, and then he gives his like tagline or whatever, and then they're off. But I would like to know. God, this movie deserves a like legit. We need to call Ken Burns and be like, I got your next project. Behind the scenes of the Ice Cream Man and how all these weird parts came together.
It was the summer of 1994. A young man by the name of Norman Epstein wanted to break out of his adult film career.
You just got to lean in. When you narrate, you got to lean into pornography.
All right. So the last sequence I want to talk about, and I save it for last because it's the one that blew my mind the most.
Please say it's the Resident Evil mansion.
Yes. It is everything surrounding that subplot.
Which has jack shit to do with anything else.
No.
Actually, before we go there, let me ask, we get visions of the nurse and him getting injections or something in this white room.
Yes.
Did those actually happen? Or are those hallucinations that he had because of the treatment?
I'm going to say that they did. I think this movie wants us to think that they did. Okay. I think the movie wants us to think that he has, if we're going to unpack his origin story, that he has a psychotic break when he sees the original Ice Cream Man get gunned down.
Despite being like cool about it.
Right, exactly.
Like, fuck, I got to go down to the corner store now.
Yeah, he gets sent to this asylum where he gets these injections and these treatments, and he's treated by this nurse, by Nurse Wharton, who that's the only reason they cast her for the flashbacks, not for the present, because she's meant to. We're meant to think that she's like this elderly lady when we first see her, but it's clearly a younger actress with a bad wig on and a muumuu on. That is it.
It's like, wow, this old lady has perfect skin.
She held up well
for a trailer park landlord.
Yeah. So we see her, and I think what's happened is he gets treated badly by this evil asylum, and they're not up on trends in mental health treatment. They haven't attended any of the recent conferences. They're up, so they're just we're just gonna stick needles in your brain to fix you, and they make him crazier. and then at some point, which this is the only gap in that, is he doesn't. How does he escape? Is he released?
Right.
Is he? But because the nurse is meant to be his caretaker, maybe he's discharged and she's gonna look at. She's retired now, and he's gone with her. I don't know that. Again,
Yeah,
that's
not sorted out.
Not sorted out. But yeah, and then at some point the asylum is shut down or it's closed down or something, because when the detectives go there, it's not white and pristine anymore. It's the Resident Evil mansion.
Yeah, when you see the building, it's not like it's it doesn't look like a project building would look. Like it's not a very design wise, it's not a very simple building. Like it's a circular building with like glass walls, and it's clearly a fairly nice building that apparently no one has wondered, hey, what's been going on in that place for decades, I guess. Because I mean, if we're going by Clint Howard's age, I mean, that thing had to have been there for decades and still is either getting new occupants or I don't know. The whole thing is like a fever dream in there.
Yeah, because there's kids in there. Like they're like, are kids getting dropped off there, or is this just like this?
God,
colony
of having crazy babies in there.
Yes,
that may have just broke me. I need a moment. Oh my God, that never entered my mind. Yeah,
because it would have to be, because no one's sending people there voluntarily at this point, right?
No, I like, even when the cops show up to the guy's office, it's still like no one would sit in a room with that guy and be like, I believe they can take care of my troubled child. Like that's not happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, of course, these people, and I don't know if they are meant to be, because they act almost zombie-esque when the cops come in. It's like they're just kind of like slowly plotting towards the cops.
Yeah, it's kind of catatonic. Like they're just drugged to the point of they're going to follow any shiny, bright light that comes their way.
Which makes the cops' reaction very upsetting. Because one straight up shoots his gun off, and the other is just punching, like knocking people out on the way. Like, just punching people in the face. Yeah.
It's, do you think they wrote a report after they left? Like, do you think there's any paperwork on this?
The paperwork on this
is people you punch someone in the face I mean, the police were written in such a these were not there was little understanding of actual police work that went into the creation of these characters. Like there's a moment where they're at like the ice cream truck, and a lady comes up and they ask her some questions. And she goes, "What is this all about?" And they go, "It's classified." What? You think that there's someone abducting kids or killing people on the street, but you won't tell that to this little old lady because it's classified? Like that's not how it works.
Yeah, you typically want as many people to know about a missing child as possible, so that said child could be
their own people. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, their understanding of police work, extended no more than what a police officer in a porno would do.
Oh my God. You were absolutely right. You cracked it. That's what it is. It is, it is, I don't know what it is to be a cop, but I know how to dress like one and then undress like one.
Exactly. I look intimidating for a couple of seconds. I say things like classified and I'll read you your rights. And then all of a sudden the music comes on and off go the pants.
Oh my Lord.
We just didn't get to that part of this movie.
Okay. So the cops, I don't remember why the cops are in there, but here's the moment in the film that's going to stick with me forever is going to be the cop who takes his sweet time getting out of the Resident Evil mansion. He's just slowly like sauntering through these what look like zombies, these people that are all drugged up, and it's a little like trying to leave your house when the dog won't let you be. Like he's just turning around going, you like move, like I gotta go. And then eventually he adds a firearm to that mix and just starts opening fire on these people who really haven't done anything to him. They're just sort of in his vicinity.
No, yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like, are these people, they're not malicious, they're disturbed, but I mean, if they're presumably if they're getting the same kind of treatments that Clint Howard was getting, they may have those sorts of tendencies, I guess. But if that's the case, like these are abused people, mentally ill patients.
Yeah,
like maybe shooting them isn't the first instinct. Is all I'm saying.
No, maybe. But there's a long ramp to get down to where the police car actually is. And this guy has his gun out. He's not carrying it in like an aggressive way. Like he's sort of just holding it by his side. It's not like he's holding it up, aiming at these people. Like he's walking down the ramp. One will touch him and he'll spin around just with his gun sort of lazily held up. Be like, hey, fucking knock it off. I'm walking. He'll turn around. He'll spin around again. Hey, I'm talking to you. Stop it. And then walk around. Like it's not aggressive at all. It's not like there is any manner of threat here. It's just like this cop sort of just lazily has his gun out and may shoot people, may not. Hey, it is such a weird,
knock it off, guys.
Weird scene.
Yeah, and that ultimately leads to the climax, which we've already talked about. But then there's a button at the end of this because there are so many loose ends in this movie. Because what happens to those people? They don't really. Do they go back and like try to save them or rescue them?
No, man. There's no paperwork. No, they didn't do paperwork. Yeah. For all they know, they were at friggin' Burger King.
Yeah, Did they all escape? So did they? Did they free these people? Because now they're out in the community. That ain't good. The neighborhood does not have the infrastructure to handle, now like 50 people who need a place to stay. And clearly everybody in the neighborhood's been through some shit because apparently they've been eating people for however long the ice cream man's been serving up those treats. And then, of course, we get back to the kids and we get Aldi Brand Macaulay Culkin hinting that he's going to take up the mantle of the ice cream man.
Yeah, and what perturbed me so much about that is how this film should have started. Like, that kid should be Clint Howard's character. Like, that makes sense if the previous ice cream man sort of groomed him to be this, monster or whatever. But instead they put it at the end. So we have to wait for a sequel to have a film that makes any sort of sense.
Which sadly we have not gotten.
No.
We apparently will not get, but not for lack of trying. Because in 2014, a Kickstarter campaign was created backed by Clint Howard for a sequel called Ice Cream Man 2 Sunday Bloody Sunday. Which
I love it.
There's no way they could get the license on that. Could they?
I don't know, but I'm for it.
I'm definitely here for it. Sadly, we won't get it because the campaign only had 70 backers and only made $4,000 of its $300,000 goal.
Yeah, I did not even know this movie existed until it was until you guys mentioned doing it for Guilty Pleasures. And I mean, if it was released direct to video, it's sure we found it on YouTube, so it's not like you can find it on disc anywhere. I mean, that's a steep haul if you're trying to, you know, you want a couple $100K for a film that you have to go find in order to even be familiar with it.
Yeah, it did get some airings on Joe Bob Briggs's show, his TNT show. It did get that kind of airing, and I guess there was some level of cult following, but yeah, clearly not enough because they couldn't get, you know, only 70 people decided that they, you know, were willing to help pay for more of this. But yeah, as we mentioned, though, the movie is on YouTube. You could watch, if you have not watched this movie, you can go and watch this whole thing for free and hear all the things. I mean, I think there's got to be things that we left out, but I think let's go ahead and take this to the guilt meter on a scale of 1 to 5 shame spirals. 1 being you love this movie. You would contribute to the Kickstarter campaign for Ice Cream Man 2. 5 being you either hated this movie and think no one should see it, or if you ever watch it, you wouldn't tell people about it. What does Ice Cream Man get on the guilt meter for you, Phil?
I think it's right in the middle. I think it's a 2.5. I would say watch it with a group of people. So you have people who can help you get through the parts that are just an absolute incoherent slog. But the other thing is that was nice is it's very rare that I'm able to watch a film that I have no preconceived notion of whatsoever. I'm too into the weeds with trailers and stuff like that to have a film like Blank Slate. So there was something cool about that, and especially with this film where, you know, it starts the way that it does and then goes from there. Yeah, watch it with a group of people. I think it's it's probably a great like The Room type movie where if you watch it with a bunch of people, it boosts its appeal quite a lot.
Yeah, I'd agree. I agree with you. And actually, for that reason, I would probably, I think 2.5's right. I was thinking 2, but I would say, yeah, 2.5 is right because, yeah, I wouldn't recommend this to everyone.
Oh, no.
You know, I think if you take your horror film seriously, don't watch this movie because I think it's not that. If you love the genre, this may offend you then in that regard. And certainly there's some squeamish, almost like, you know, Eli Roth level shit going on in there with that's almost too gruesome by a half. But yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I would watch this movie again, especially for free on YouTube, but I'd watch it with a group of people for like a Halloween party if you're getting, you know, to help you get through those lulls, because that's the other part is, you know, while there's all that dialogue, it's like, yeah, you chat with your friends and then you just, then you watch the crazy shit. And that's a lot. And there's a lot of fun that could be had with this movie. So if you're into that kind of a movie, I think it's a lot more fun than than some of the other movies that we've done. But I would definitely, I'd watch this with a group of people, but I'm not watching it by myself again anytime soon. One and 2/3 times is enough.
Yeah. And one of the things about this film that hopefully you get from listening to us talk about it is we are unable to like contain all of the crazy shit that happened in this movie and like put it in a straight line to try and talk about it in any sort of sensible way, because one thing leads to another weird thing to another weird thing. So like, this is a film that you can talk about for a long time for good and for ill, because some of it makes sense, some of it's silly, and some of it is just so off the wall that, you know, I want a prequel that's all about the Resident Evil mansion and what went on in there. Yeah. So yeah, I think this is right in the wheelhouse of community guilty pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if we haven't scared you away by talking about it too much, yeah, definitely check it out. It's for it, like we said, as of today, as of this recording, it's still available on YouTube for free. So you're not really out anything. So if you're looking to do something, we got a week to go or so to Halloween. If you're looking for your Halloween party, you want to have something, I would recommend this. I think, and yeah, like we said, we hit on a lot of stuff, but there is still more, I think, that we didn't hit on that we could have. But we're going to leave it at that.
Maybe we'll get a shot by shot like critique. Down the line,
we'll do. Yeah, that'll if we get enough responses, we'll do a running commentary or something.
Oh my gosh!
I actually did hear that Riff Tracks is going to do this soon.
They've done
it. Oh, have they done it already?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Okay, I'm anxious to. I'm definitely going to experience that because I don't know how you mind those gaps of kids walking down the street talking about who cares.
All right. So that's going to do it for this episode. That's our first, as we mentioned, our listener requested. Chad, if you're listening, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was worth the recommendation. And if you want us to talk about a movie, it's very simple. Go to our Guilty Pleasures feed, rate and review us. Give us a 5-star review, please. And in the review, when you write the review, just tell us what movie you want us to do. Clearly, we'll do, if you tell us to I think this is evident, we will do it.
We have no
as long as we can find the movie, we will do it. And so please, give us some reviews, give us some recommendations. We'll keep turning out Guilty Pleasures. And we've got 2 coming up in the month of November. I'm very excited about. We were going to have Fear with Courtney Enlow's going to come back and talk about that with us. And I'm very excited to talk about another problematic stalker movie with her after doing The Crush.
Yeah, nice. Very nice that you got 2 women to do that.
Yeah, no, they had to.
Really upsetting stuff in that movie.
Yeah. If you think I was uncomfortable talking about diaphragms in this one, you should go back, if you haven't, and hear our episode on The Crush, because
it's a gem. It is a gem.
Yeah. And then later in the month of November, getting ready for Creed 2, we're going to talk about Rocky 4, which was the last time we saw the Drago family on the big screen. So that's what's coming up in Guilty Pleasures. We still have a few more Monstercast episodes coming up. I know if Jeremy were with us, he'd be telling you what those are. But the way you'll find those is if you subscribe to the main feed, the Front Row Network, and go to our website, frontrowmoviereviews.com, subscribe to our Facebook page. You'll get all the updates, everything that's coming up. There's been a lot of stuff this month in November. This will be the 3rd time you've heard my voice this month because there's just so much stuff going on, and we're happy to do it. And also, if you go to our website, you'll find lots of articles written by myself and Phil and our other contributors. And you can also find us on Twitter at Front Row Reviews. You can find me there at The Fake Lou Hair. Let us know what you thought about this episode, what you thought about Ice Cream Man, and all the other crazy stuff that we're doing. So, Phil, you got anything you want to plug?
No. I will be. I have a major life change coming up that will mean I will have more opportunity to contribute to the website. So I'm looking forward to that. I got a lot of stuff in the hopper that I'll actually finally be able to address. So keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. Cool. All right. And so that's going to do it for this special Monstercast edition of Guilty Pleasures. So for Jeremy Geckner, I'm Lou Hare.
I'm Phil Rockwell.
We'll see you in the front row, and we hope you have a happy, happy, happy day.
Oh, my God.